Hello everyone. Today we are going to study from Essay on Man, which is by Alexander Pope, and it is prescribed on the syllabus of BA first year pass course English Literature in paper 1. Alexander Pope was born in 1688 and he died in 1744. Alexander Pope is a well-known name in the field of English literature, and he belonged to Neoclassical period, and Neoclassical period extends from 1660 to 1785. Neoclassical period in England spans the 140 years or so after the Restoration. Restoration came in 1660 after the Restoration, which means the restoration of monarchy in England, when Charles II became the King of England and the era of Commonwealths ended. Now there were writers in 1660s and late in 1700s, writers like John Dryden, Alexander Pope, Joseph Addison, Jonathan Swift, Samuel Johnson, Oliver Goldsmith, and Edmund Burke, and many others along with them. Now they are called neoclassical poets, neoclassical writers. Now, what does this term neoclassical mean? These authors exhibited a strong traditionalism in their writing, and they show a distrust of radical innovation and great respect for classical writers of ancient Greece and Rome. Now, the neoclassical writers aimed to achieve excellence like the ancient classical writers of ancient Greece and Rome, and the neoclassical writers took their models, literary models, the ancient models from ancient Greece and Rome, like Homer, Virgil, Ovid, and they strictly try to write in the different literary genres like drama, poetry, and they try to follow the ancient rules of writing drama and poetry. And it is from this estimate that we can say that neoclassical writing was a kind of an imitation of original classical antiquarian writing. So neoclassical writers considered literature as primarily an art, a set of skills, and which requires innate talents, but which must be perfected by long study and practice and deliberate adaptation of known and tested means to the achievement of foreseen ends upon the audience of readers. And it also emphasizes finish, correction, and attention to detail. So neoclassical writing is basically a strict adherence to rules and regulations of ancient classical writing, which were propounded by Aristotle, Horace, Virgil, Ovid, like those writers and those writers and philosophers. Now, Alexander Pope particularly belongs to the Augustan age within the neoclassical period. Now, what is Augustan age? The original Augustan age was the brilliant literary period of Virgil, Horace, and Ovid under the Roman Emperor Augustus. But in the 18th century in England, the writers of the period from 1700 to 1745, when Alexander Pope was actively writing in England at that time, that particular period is known as Augustan age. Because it is so called because the the writers of 1700 to 1745 in England, they frequently applied the literary models of the original Augustan period, original Augustan age, to their own writings. So the leading writers of the time were Alexander Pope, Jonathan Swift, and Joseph Addison. And they themselves drew the parallel to the Roman Augustans and deliberately imitated their literary forms and subjects. And their special emphasis was on social concerns and ideals of moderation, decorum, and urbanity. So, Alexander Pope was an Augustan poet within Neoclassical age, and his poetry is full of epigrammatical wit. Epigrammatical wit means that he makes use of heroic couplet, and within a span of 2 lines, within a limit of 2 lines, he makes a very witty, very intelligent and wise statement. So this is what is meant by epigrammatical wit. Means saying something profound in an epigram, means within a span of 2 lines. And his poetry is satirical. It is full of good sense and reason. Good sense and reason were also the 2 watchwords, we can say the 2 watchwords of the Neoclassical period, in that the writers of that period adhered to good sense, that they believed that writing should have good sense and the writing should adhere to reason. Now, as far as the major works of Alexander Pope are concerned, they are an essay on criticism, which came out in 1711, then the rape of the lock in 1712, and Alexander Pope revised it in 1714. Windsor Forest came out in 1713, then the Dunciad in 1728, essay on man, a part of which, a small section of which is prescribed on your syllabus. It was written in 1733 and 1734. Now, what is heroic couplet? Because heroic couplet, it is very much necessary to know about it, because John Dryden's poetry as well as the poetry of Alexander Pope has been written in heroic couplets. So it becomes very important to know what is meant by heroic couplet. Heroic couplet is 2 lines, a pair of lines, which is written in iambic pentameter, and the last sound of the last word of every line rhyme with the last sound of the last word of the succeeding line. So that is couplet. In Hindi we call it doha, but heroic couplet is also a kind of doha, but of 2 lines rhyming together. But heroic couplet is written in iambic pentameter lines. That is, there are 5 feet in which an unstressed syllable is followed by a stressed syllable. So it was a favorite meter of Geoffrey Chaucer, the great English poet of 14th century, and this verse form did not come into its greatest popularity until it was revised in the 17th century by John Dryden, who made it well accepted. He wrote a number of his poems in heroic couplet, and Alexander Pope followed the model of John Dryden, and he also wrote his poetry in heroic couplet. And then heroic couplet became very important in Neoclassical period, and a number of other poets also tried to make use of it. An example can be seen: but when to mischief mortals bend their will, how soon they find fit instruments of ill. So, and the part of Essay on Man which we are going to read, the section of this poem which we are going to read, is also written in heroic couplet. Now, as far as the poem An Essay on Man is concerned, it is a poem written in 1733 and 1734, and it is dedicated to Henry St. John, who was first Viscount of Bolingbroke. This poem, Essay on Man, is about the hierarchical order of the universe, in which Alexander Pope says that man is above animals by virtue of his capacity to reason. Man has reason, man is intelligent, he has brains, he can think and act wisely, but he is not above God. So man can and should study himself, but he cannot question the order of God. He is beneath God. God's spiritual design is beyond the reach of earthly science. So this is the subject matter of this poem, and this poem is written in heroic couplets, has been written in heroic couplets in 4 epistles. Now, what is an epistle? Epistle means a letter, which is called patra in Hindi, letter. From Essay on Man, this is a small section prescribed on your syllabus. And this section is from Epistle 2. There are total 4 epistles in Essay on Man, and from Epistle 2, lines 1 to 18 are prescribed on your syllabus. And these lines are very celebrated lines. The second epistle is about humans as individuals. The poet here talks about human beings as individuals. Know then thyself, presume not God to scan. The proper study of mankind is man. Placed on this isthmus of a middle state, a being darkly wise and rudely great, with too much knowledge for the skeptic's side, with too much weakness for the stoic's pride, he hangs between, in doubt to act or rest, in doubt to deem himself a god or beast. In doubt his mind or body to prefer, born but to die and reasoning but to err. Alike in ignorance his reason such, whether he thinks too little or too much, chaos of thought and passion all confused, still by himself abused or disabused. Created half to rise and half to fall, great Lord of all things, yet a prey to all. Sole judge of truth in endless error hurled, the glory, jest, and riddle of the world. So these are the lines from Essay on Man, which are there on your syllabus. About Alexander Pope, we have already discussed that he is the chief poet of the Neoclassical school of the 18th century, and poets of this school tried to imitate the Roman and Greek classical poets, and they laid great stress on clarity, moderation, and balance in verse as well as in prose. And these poets adopted the heroic couplet as its chief metrical medium. And most of Pope's poetry uses the heroic couplet. His poetry is characterized by wit and epigrammatic sharpness, satire and intellectual rather than emotional power. And Pope's best-known poems are the didactic Essay on Man, the satire, the Dunciad, and the mock heroic Rape of the Lock. And he is perhaps the most quoted of English poets after Shakespeare. As far as this poem is concerned, This extract is from the second epistle in Pope's long argumentative poem, An Essay on Man, and the contradictions and paradoxes of man's nature and condition are here treated not in an impassioned or lyrical way, but in a rational or common sense manner. It is a highly typical of the 18th century and of the poet. The poet, An Essay on Man, the poem, The Essay on Man, is a philosophical poem in which the discourse is philosophical about nature, about man, about this world. In the heroic couplet written during the period 1733 to 34, which we have already discussed, and it has been written in 4 epistles, which are addressed to St. John, Lord Bolingbroke, and it was written because it was inspired by his fragmentary philosophical writings, and it was designed as a part of a larger poems, but which could not become possible, and the poem finally came out in 4 epistles. Now, the object of this poem was to vindicate the ways of God to man. Means making man understand that nature is as it is, this world is as it is, and it is perfect. And it is perfect in itself despite all oddities. And the scheme of the universe is the best in spite of appearances of evil, and that our failure to see the perfection of the whole is due to our limited understanding. Now, in this poem, in this small section, Pope says that instead of studying God, man should try to study himself. Man is placed in middle position between extremes. Sometimes he considers himself a god, while at others he feels he is no more than a beast. He is always in doubt. He cannot decide whether he should care more for the mind or for the body. He is born to die. Though he can reason, yet he makes mistakes. In man, ignorance and reason are found in equal degree. He is thoughtful as well as passionate. He controls all things, but at the same time falls a prey to them. He knows truth and yet commits errors. So these are the ideas which have been written by the poet in the form of this poem. Now, in this section, know then thyself, presume not God to scan. The proper study of mankind is man, placed on this isthmus of a middle state, a being darkly wise and rudely great. With too much knowledge for the skeptic side, with too much weakness for the stoic's pride, he hangs between, in doubt to act or rest, in doubt to deem himself a god or beast, in doubt his mind or body to prefer, born but to die and reasoning but to err. As far as these lines are concerned, Pope says that a man should try to understand himself, as knowledge of human nature is essential. Man should study himself rather than trying to study God or this mysterious or the mysteries, or to trying to unveil the mysteries of the world. He should rather focus on himself and his life. He should not try to analyze God and his action, because he cannot understand the design of God. He cannot understand the heavenly design of this universe. Human life, human nature, and human mind are the subjects of study for a human being, and man should not be so proud or disrespectful that he tries to study God, and the proper subject of study for man is himself. So these are the meanings. This is the gist of what he says. Man has a large store of knowledge. He possesses enough knowledge to prevent him from becoming a skeptic. But a skeptic believes that no definite knowledge of anything is possible. A skeptic is always in doubt. His mind is always not in the state of clarity. So, nor man can become a stoic. Man can also not leave everything. It means that he cannot be indifferent to pleasure and pain because he is too weak for that. So man can neither renounce this world, nor he can become a skeptic. So man should save himself from extremes. Man is always in doubt whether he should do a particular thing or not. He is in doubt whether to act or remain passive, to lead a contented, static life, or to strive, struggle, and aspire. So, man is always in these doubts. He does not know whether he should consider himself a god or beast. He thus finds himself between two extremes: divine qualities and beastly instincts. So man's position is the position of isthmus. Isthmus is a very thin strip of water between two pieces of land. So man's position is like that. Man is stuck between two things, two extremes. Man's position is middle. So that is why man should follow the middle path, the golden mean, Aristotle's concept, ancient concept. So man is also in doubt whether the mind or the body is to be regarded higher, whether it is mind which is higher or it is body which is higher. The body represents physical comforts and desires, while the mind represents ideas and ideals. So these are two different things, mind and body. While ideas, thinking, thought process are represented by mind, ideals are represented by minds. On the other hand, physical comforts and desires are represented by body. But man is a living creature, so body is also very necessary for him, and mind is also necessary for him because it is human mind, human brain, which makes him different from all other animals. So he should follow both the instincts. He should also focus on his body and as well as his mind, because he can renounce neither. Man is born in this world not to live forever but to die soon. Death is the ultimate end of his life. Just as he is born to die, in the same way he reasons to make mistakes. In other words, he has got reasoning power to reason, but it is often erroneous and false. Alike in ignorance his reason such, whether he thinks too little or too much, chaos of thought and passion, all confused, still by himself abused or disabused, created half to rise and half to fall, great Lord of all things, yet a prey to all. Sole judge of truth, in endless error hurled, the glory, jest, and riddle of the world. In these lines, Pope says that ignorance and reason are found in man in equal quantities. Man is above animals. He can reason, but he is also ignorant of certain things. Man has reasoning power, yet his reasoning is often erroneous. It is full of errors, mistakes. Whether he thinks very little or very much, it doesn't matter. He remains a mixture of ignorance and truth, and he can never be all correct or all wrong. This is because he has reasoning power as well as ignorance. Thoughts and passionate desires mingle in man. Man wants to do certain thing. A man may want to do certain thing, but his physical desires, his bodily desires sometimes restrict him. creating a complete disorder or confusion. He wants to follow the dictates of his reason, but passion obstructs his path. Hence is the confusion. He is deceived and undeceived by himself. When he is wrong, he is himself to blame. When he is on the right path, he does so by his own knowledge. Thus, he can deceive himself by following paths or enlighten himself by doing the right thing. So it depends on man how he makes his life, what he makes his life to be, on what path he wants to go. So it depends on man. So man should create a balance between his desires and between his thoughts and feelings. And man partly wins over his circumstances. It is a quality of man that he can win over his circumstances and environment, but he cannot overcome completely. Because body is also there, bodily desires are also there, bodily necessities are also there. So hence he falls down, he controls all things in nature, yet due to his weaknesses, he falls a prey to those very things that he controls. He is the supreme creature of the universe, yet he often feels helpless. So helplessness is also there in man's life, because there is too much confusion, obstruction in his life because of certain circumstances and because of his own nature, man's own nature. In spite of his reasoning power, man makes mistakes. His reasoning often fails him. There is something glorious or divine about him, yet there is also something ridiculous about him, and he is a mystery which cannot be understood completely. His nature is too complicated to be analyzed. So this is about man and his nature, about his strengths and his weaknesses, about his extremes, and how man should react to those things. He should try to create a balance between the two extremes. He should try to create a balance between his desires and his thoughts, his ideals and his actual actions. So golden mean, the middle path, is the best way for the man. So this is from Essay on Man, the section which was prescribed, the section which is prescribed on your syllabus, and I hope that you have got the point and try to read the poem and try to understand it. And all the best. Thank you for listening and watching the video.